Hi, everybody. I'm Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. Welcome aboard. It's nice to have you again. And tonight we're going to be talking about, this is session number 82. We'll be talking about Uranus's entry into the sign of Taurus. If you've not joined us before, we're on every Thursday night at 8. Here is your link if you ever... well, you obviously know or you wouldn't be here. I'll flash the link up later on for those of you. If you're viewing this on YouTube, the link is, let's see here. Here we go. The link is here if you ever want to join us on Thursdays at 8. It's simply by going to my website, which is starself.com/unplugged. And you'll get the links to the live performance. Many people watch it when it's put up on the web on the ensuing Friday. I want to go over where the planets are right now. We've had a couple weeks off. We're going to talk about where they are, and that will set the table for you to understand what's really going on with the Uranus into Taurus. As I suspected when I wrote that big document a couple months ago about the 10 things going on that were really stirring things up. And the number one thing I had on the list was Eris being discovered and going into the sign of Aries. She's been in Aries since, I guess, 1930 something. I'm reading that wonderful download by Laura Walker. I'll be posting that later for you, for those of you who want to read more about Eris. Laura Walker did a very fine ebook on the subject of Eris. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the book now. She's a brilliant astrologer. The first third of the book is really about very complex mythology surrounding Eris. In other words, Eris is the force behind the divine feminine rising again. I'm going to try to get a hold of her and try to get her on the show. The second third of the book is about the Trilateral Commission and all the things happening untowardly in the government and in the plutocracy, etc. And the third part, I'm hoping, is about what to do about her in your chart. I was born with Jupiter and Eris at the same degree, so I'd like to know more about her. But I really suspect, and I think I'm right, she's the one that's really got things stirred up. So the last thing we needed to have happen was Uranus to change signs, and Uranus just did. Last Tuesday, it went into Taurus. All right, so get you straight on what that means is, around 2011 in May, Uranus completed its trip through the zodiac. In May 23rd of 2011, Uranus entered Aries. It finished the zodiac. Right at that time, you feel these planets when they cross the anaretic degrees. An anaretic degree is the first or the last degree of every sign. So you could feel the shock wave of Uranus going into revolutionary sign of Aries. Right, Mark? That's right. And you saw the Arab Spring. And then you saw different kinds of revolution. And now it's just gone through the latter degrees of Aries, which is when you saw the Stoneman Douglas school, you're seeing the American kind of spring happen, and now it's shifted into Taurus. So while many astrologers are going to be talking about Uranus and Taurus, they're going to be telling you about changes to the coins, changes to the monetary system. They're going to be talking about gardening, different kinds of way we're going to get our food. I'm going to leave that part to them. I'm going to be focusing on the part of Uranus, which I think is a little bit underplayed, but I think it's really major, is self-worth. Projecting forth our self-worth, and unlike we've ever done before. And I'm seeing it with my clients, and then I will go through each of your charts and show you what Uranus is doing in your chart as far as your solar chart and as far as your natal chart. Okay, so to bring you up to speed, Hello, everybody. Karen, Suzanne, hi. To bring everybody up to speed, in the teaching zodiac that I've used so often, you got to remember that the basic prima facie energy that's going on now is Eris, not in Pluto anymore. Eris is sitting here about 24, 25. My lifetime, Eris has gone from 5 to 25. 120 years in the sign of Aries. It takes 540 or so to go all the way around. And when she was discovered, and she's definitely female, when Eris was discovered, not only did we discover her around 24, 23, whatever it was, she was discovered sitting next to Uranus. And I finally got 2 and 2 put together by reading Laura Walker's book. Astrologers knew about her years before we saw her. They intuited and scientifically knew there was some point there doing something astrologically, and she was given the name of Trans-Pluto. Her name was Trans-Pluto, one word. She had a symbol. She wasn't in anybody's chart unless you were tracing these mythical points, and then she was discovered in West Texas, I guess around 2003. She was given the temporary name of Xena. One of the key words for Eris's nature is lawlessness. And she was given the name Xena, and the actress's name is Lucy Lawless. Then, after all the fighting was said and done, and they demoted Pluto, they gave her the permanent name of Eris. She is Aries' brother. She's Aries' sister. She's a hellraiser, and she wants to stand and be counted. Are you seeing any of that lately? So she's in the background. She is the background force, which I thought something was going on because I've always put the background force in Pluto's lap. Secondarily, Pluto is now about 21, 22, 21, about 21. Pluto has been in this area since 2008. 15 years Pluto in this area. This is why it's been stirring up the Capricorns very much for the last 8-9 years, which would affect the cardinal signs of Cancer and Capricorn and Libra and Aries, those 4. She's destined to stay there to about 2024. In the background, very quietly, like she always does, Neptune has been quietly going through Pisces. She's been in there with Chiron for quite a while now. She's in about the midway point of Pisces right now. You don't even notice her because she's gray, hidden against the gray wall and the white cloud. So that's how Neptune works. And in my opinion, I don't know enough about Eris yet, but in my opinion, Neptune is the strongest force there is. But I don't know enough about all the others because I hate to break it to you, we discovered 80 new planets at the same time. 80 new ones around the time that Pluto was demoted, which is why Pluto got demoted. We had to either add 80 new planets or demote Pluto and Ceres. So they chose that. So in the background to all this, Pluto has been setting up all the social change that it's been doing. Meanwhile, we've talked a lot about what Neptune's been doing in a wonderful way with all the growth of spirituality. And I was just talking with Elke about this a second ago, how you're really starting to see so many good astrologers come out now. And there were many, many years when there were a lot of wannabes, and they really had a lot of work to do. A lot of good stuff was written in the old days, but you just didn't see the common good astrology around. Now they're coming out of the woodwork because the archetype is strong, because psychically we're all getting better. We're getting more of an understanding that this is all based on the archetypes, which astrology is so good at explaining. So you got the Pluto here and you got the Neptune here. We've had Uranus since 11. Uranus entered Aries. This is the start-finish line, first house, 12th house. So since 2011, we've had 7 years of Uranus going through Aries. 7 years of it. When he got about here is when we discovered Eris. Woohoo! Discovered both of them together, which is just unbelievable. Okay, now in the past week, let's see, Uranus has gone into Taurus, sent its shock waves, and is going to go backward into Aries later and come back to Taurus later on next year. So Uranus has started its 7-year trek through the sign of Taurus. Now, normally, when a planet goes into a sign, it sends its shock waves all the way through Taurus. So if you have a planet nearby, you get hit with this wave of awakening energy. If your planet is further along in Taurus, you may not feel it so much because Taurus is more like a molasses type of energy as opposed to water or distilled water. It does not conduct electric energy as well as, say, when it's in Gemini or in Pisces. Likewise, when Uranus, you always have to think about the cross, the cardinal cross, the fixed cross in the zodiac. Therefore, when Uranus went into Taurus, it had a great impact immediately on the sign of Scorpio and the opposite, and the signs at a right angle. So when it went into Taurus, it shook up Leo, it shook up Scorpio, it shook up Aquarius, and it shook up Taurus. And as I said, all things Taurian will be going through lots of change. That's your banking, your resources, your the farming, the agriculture of a country, the earthy parts of a country are of being. So what Tauruses typically do, what I found so commonly with fixed signs, especially Taurus, I'll see Uranus will go over a point in a Taurus's life, and I'll say, what's going on? Nothing. What's going on? Nothing. What's going on? Nothing. A year later, Uranus has passed, and they go, oh, things are crazy. So you really do see a delayed reaction with Uranus in the fixed signs because Tauruses don't like anything sneaking up on them. They don't let things in readily like a Gemini does or a Pisces does. They like things controlled, come upon me slowly, bark up my tree slowly before I let you in, because once you're in for good. And Taurus is kind of reserved about that. So nevertheless, you're going to see, I don't care what sign it's in, you're going to feel the shock wave of Uranus and Taurus now. And you're going to see more apparent. Look at the night before. The night before it went into, what did I keep telling you? As Uranus got to the last degree of Aries, was about to shift in, I kept telling you Uranus is going to do its finale in Aries. What happened the day of? He puts the president announces the new embassy in Israel, in Jerusalem, and gambling is allowed. They took the lid off all the gambling. You want to see the NFL change, you want to see all of sports change, the lid is now off. Now it's up to each state whether they want to go with it or not. But anyhow, Uranus is now in Taurus. Now, when I want to mention this to you so you understand, Linda's with us new. You can chat with the chat box at the bottom of the screen to all of us, or you can chat to a particular person, but I won't have the time to read and respond, and I count on John if something's critical that's sent. John is kind of my assistant with this whole thing. If something's critical coming across, John will let me know. Okay. Remember, Astrology Unplugged simply means, I kind of like it because I can use that word for anything I want to. It's unplugged. Don't worry about it. It means we're relaxed. It means we're not doing a rigid school, not a rigid class. We're going over different subjects that ebb and flow in the collective. And about every month or so, I like to have a nice guest on. We've certainly been lucky with that lately. If you're a beginner, what I got to tell you, do a lot of charts. What I got to tell you, do a lot of charts. Sound like my old Italian father. What I got to tell you, do lots of charts. You want to learn astrology? Do lots and lots. You can ask my girlfriend. Anybody on TV is fair game to me. And I never go past the graveyard. I got everybody's birthday now. I do everybody's chart. I got Elkie moving over there. I mean, Elkie's doing the same thing. That's how you learn. Okay. Now, Uranus, what does Uranus do? Uranus is a very favorable planet. Its downside is it's kind of neurotic and it's disruptive, but it disrupts on purpose. It awakens. It is the one that comes into the party room. You're sitting in a party room and everybody's been there a long time and nothing's happened. And Uranus comes in, claps his hand and says, what's going on in here? Let's get some life going here. Hey, what's going on? Let's go skinny dipping. Let's go try this. Let's go shopping. Let's go try that. Okay, it's the force that puts the sign up in your favorite restaurant. Pardon our noise and our hammer and our dirt, but we're remodeling the restaurant. Please put up with the chaos. So it always is sudden. It always brings chaos, and its ultimate purpose is to let more light in. When Uranus hits you, it doesn't hit you. It comes up from within you because it is you. It's the unique part of you. Uranus is the point that Fred Rogers talks about. There's no one in the world like you. That's the Uranian part of you, the individualism. Okay, so while it's been in Aries for 7 years, you may not have noticed this, maybe you did, but as an astrologer, I keep my eye on this stuff. This world is completely different than it was 7 years ago. People are much more awake. They're much more alert. 7 years ago, they were writing to me, when's this going to be over, Rick? When's this going to be over? I said, that's not going to be over. When's the chaos? When's the government going back to normal? When's it going back? It ain't going back. But see, we've taken 7 years now, saw Pluto, and we're realizing it's up to us. It's up to us. And the self has awakened. And any self that awakens, you don't talk to anybody having their coffee, right? Let them have their coffee for a while. Let them wake up. So after the awakening, which has largely been good, and the huge battles going on with the NRA, it has to get to a point where it has to settle down. And this is all chronicled clearly in my book, Exquisite Zodiac, which tells you why one sign goes into the next sign, why it morphs into the next sign, etc. So we're studying tonight the difference between Aries and Taurus. That's what's happening. That's where we're at collectively. We've been in this state of awakening of the self. Now it's getting to the point where no one's going to want to listen to us because we're not anchored. So that's what's been missing. And Aries ran its course, and now it's time to get anchored. But this time, we're not going to get anchored with a shovel and dirt. It's going to be some weird way of doing it, which is Uranian. What is Uranian but the internet? Things that are Uranian are the big mind. So as I go through each of your charts, you're going to understand this better. You'll start to see how this works. And during the next 7 years, what's happening now what follows in the second position, the Taurus position, I believe is grossly misunderstood in astrology. Taurus is known as values and money, the things you have. And I think those things are true, but I think it's really overlooked. The main thing about Taurus is your self-worth. And I can tell you anything from reading for thousands of people for a long time now. I'm seeing left and right, everybody is saying to me, maybe not these words, you're not messing with me anymore. You can't mess with me. I got these troubles, blah, 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 but I know that I'm in charge maintaining my self-worth. I'm seeing it everywhere. You have to be seeing this, and you have to be feeling this, because this is the natural Act 2 of Uranus's 84th-year trip that started in 2011. He started another 84-year trip around the zodiac. So let me show you one more time, and then we'll get on with the charts. So, as Uranus is going to go back and forth, and by the way, if you're not used to knowing this, you need to put this in your cap. The outer planets, and I'm talking about everything from Jupiter out. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Chiron, Pluto. They go forward for 7 months and they go backward for 5. They go forward for 7. They seem to go backward for 5. I'm not sure if Chiron falls like that. Chiron's pretty radical orbit. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Those 5. They go forward for 7 and backward for 5. And that's why people say, oh, I've got 5 retrograde planets in my chart. I must have 3 arms or 7 eyes. Oh, and it's not weird at all. It's very common. It's very common. And if you were above the solar system looking down on the orbits, you would see why. So don't get freaked out. The ones that are rare that are retrograde are, of course, Mercury, but the rarer still are Venus and Mars. So therefore, Uranus will go so far, stop, come backward, stop, go forward. And you'll feel these shifts as Uranus goes retrograde and goes direct. So I'd like to start with our new guest tonight, Linda, and welcome her. Linda is a Pisces. And I'm going to show you how the solar chart works. That's the one, she's a Pisces. That's the one where you put 0 degrees Pisces on the ascendant. And that's how astrologers do horoscopes. We treat all Pisces and the whole planet, 8.5% of the people, as if they're all 0 Pisces. Now, that will not necessarily match her because she probably has another rising sign besides the sign of Pisces. So I will be telling you how it's working, and we'll go through the rest of you. And as I like to do, I like to help you understand at the same time, provide a teaching tool. Linda, thank you, and I will unmute you right now in case you would like to comment. Welcome to the show. We're very relaxed here. There is a final when we're all done, and you have to pass it or you can't come back next week. And I've been flunking it over and over and over. Okay, let's take a look here. Okay, let's see. Got to get all my buttons straight. Okay, Linda A. Let's get you on the screen. I have to click twice to get it on the screen. Okay, so we see Linda A. is born in Seattle. She has Libra rising. I'm not going to get real complicated about this because we could go on forever. So we're going to look at the sun is opposite Neptune. So what do you think about a Pisces sun that's opposite Neptune and she's got Jupiter and the moon there? This woman is like a quadruple Pisces already, because the sun, Jupiter, and the moon are all in Pisces, and they're all opposite Neptune. So this woman is a holy woman. She is very high spirit. This is a very loving, highly spiritual individual. I guarantee it, or she wouldn't have these energies. Don't worry, Linda. I met a quintuple one day. Five times. So you're at least a triple, what I would call a triple Pisces.
Yeah.
So getting where I'm talking about. The sun is in Pisces and you have Libra rising. Now, if you put the sun over here, that's how you analyze something. That's like sending something through a prism. Uranus is now in the sign of Taurus. So Pisces would be the first house. Aries would be the second house. Taurus would be your third house. So Uranus going through your third house, your solar third house, as it relates to your sun. Uranus is in your solar third house. Pisces, Aries, Taurus. In your natal chart, you can see Uranus is in your seventh house, and you're approaching your Uranus return, which is phenomenal. The Uranus return happens at age 84, and it's your third completion of Saturn returns. Your third Saturn return. Now, I'm not going to go off on that. I've already talked about Uranus returns. I've got a video out there already, several of them on my YouTube site. If you'd like to read about various stages of Uranus, I really recommend it for you.
I will, yeah.
Yeah, it really does help. But it's actually, what it actually means is the completion of your work. Your work is now complete. If you're lucid, which you certainly seem to be, you are completing your mission. Your mission is done. And now it doesn't mean you have to leave, but what it means is you can leave if you want. And we notice how Pope John Paul left on the day of his Uranus return. And did you see his body? He was ready to leave. Not because he was disgusted, but he was so lively inside, and he was so tired of dragging that old body around. He had done his job, he was handing it over, and he left. We all know where he went. So the 84 cycle is a massive cycle. It's a wonderful cycle, which you can get into further with those. Now, so since Uranus is affecting your third house in your solar chart, it's affecting all Pisces in their third house. Uranus just went into Taurus for all Pisces on the planets, even the dogs and cats. What does Uranus do? It wakes up, and what is the third house? It's the mind. So I don't care what kind of mind you have. Let's take a look a little deeper here. And as I suspected, your Mercury's already in Aries. So you have already got a pretty lit up, fiery kind of mind. You could have Mercury in Pisces where you'd been more dreamy and more like Edgar Cayce, etc. So what it's going to do is you're going to start getting flashes of intuition. Uranus is really, really powerful. And it serves us by, it's always sudden, it's always enlightening, almost always it's a little disconcerting, followed by liberating. It kind of knocks you over, and then it liberates you. So what we can see here, and this is one reason you found this show. You may have found this show a week ago on Tuesday, which is when it entered. And if you did find it, you found it suddenly. You found it in some off-the-wall way. Like, how do you find that out? I don't know. Here it is. So we see that you're really going to wake up mentally. Now, you don't have a lot of waking to do since your Mercury's already in Aries, but you certainly do since you got so much Neptune. The sun, the moon, Jupiter, all opposite Neptune.
It's integrating mentally.
Well,
It's how it feels.
Well, I think that's a good way to put it. I can't comment directly on that because when you have so much Pisces, it's really hard to evaluate because Pisces is so unbelievably intuitive. But what's going to happen with you, you're going to start feeling sharper in the mind.
Yeah.
You're going to start feeling like somebody, while you were sleeping, they took the old software out and they put in a new chip. Okay? And it goes faster. Your life goes quicker. You'll start wanting to hang out. Uranus is always this way. You'll start wanting to hang out with people much younger than yourself just because they're livelier. Okay. Now, in your birth chart, it's in your 7th house. But it's been in your 7th house for a long time. But watch this. Did you notice how Uranus is at 0 and the cusp of your 8th house is not till 8? I'm announcing to you now, because I'm old, I've been around a long time, I'm going to give myself the permission to do this. I'm announcing to you that your Uranus return is starting. And your 8th house is lit up. It's not even 8 degrees. Uranus won't be officially into the 2nd house, 8th house for another year at least. I'm announcing to you through intuition tonight that your Uranus return is starting and your 8th house is lighting up, and I'll tell you exactly what that means. It means that I've been so nice to so many people for so long because my Pisces nature is to take care of everybody and all that stuff. Well, what's happening? And I don't care if it took you 6 years, 40 years, or 80 years. You're done fooling with people that affect your self-worth. You're not. What the 8th house means, it's the opposite to 2nd house, is when I'm with you, what do I let happen to my self-worth? And Pisces answered everything's crawl up on the cross. It's my fault. Up on the cross. My fault. My fault. Oh, mea culpa, mea culpa. Not anymore. That's what's going on with you. New thinking, brand new. And I'll tell you what, you're going to be tempted to think of others who've kept you down or others who've done this or done that. And it really has had nothing to do with anybody but you the whole time. Okay? So that's what's going on with you, Linda. New type of thinking, sped up thinking, and a new, lively, unalterable self-worth now, which means you're going to rate your self-worth with your own scale, spiritually, period. Now, what do you think, Linda?
I love you. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, she loves me already. That's really good. I'm happy with that. That's what's going on.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
The thing about Uranus is it happens naturally. It's time for it. She didn't.
That's how it feels.
Yeah.
That's how
I'm ready. So 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, you're almost ready. Almost, sort of. But when Uranus hits that whap, right? You become.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, wonderful, and congratulations, and open up the champagne. Let's move over to Elke here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Elke. Let me get your chart aboard here. Hello, Melody. Melody, you know what I'm going to do? After Elke, I'm going to go to you next. You're at the bottom of my screen, but I want to go to you because I know how often you have to take care of the kids. So we'll go to you next. What did you say there?
I'm okay today. My family partner is home.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I'll put you last. Okay. Let's go to Elke here. It's hot here today for some reason.
Hey, why are we doing the solar? I'm not sure why we're doing the solar chart. Like, wouldn't the transit chart be more accurate, or is it just because we're seeing how it affects you?
Okay, we're real close. The solar chart, we're looking at transits to the solar chart.
Yes.
And we're looking at transits to the natal.
Okay.
because transits to the solar houses, since you're a Cancer, this transit's taking place in your 11th house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taurus would be in your 11th, Gemini is in your 12th, Cancer is in your 1st, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in a solar way, relating to your sun is your
being, your vitality.
Yes, it's your being, but it's also your particular incarnation.
Okay.
As a Cancer soul. So it's going to have 11th house impact. And it's also, we got to go to your birth chart to see. Let's call that up. Okay. And Elke's chart shows us that she has Sag rising. So we know that Uranus is hitting her in the 11th house because we put Cancer over here. This becomes Gemini's house. This becomes Taurus's. So the Uranus is going through your solar 11th, and in your birth chart, it's going through your 4th. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we're getting friend's house, and we're getting the house of home and family. Okay. So what this means in the solar chart is the 11th house is very misunderstood too. The 11th house there's too much written about friends and the organizations and hopes and wishes and all of that. That's fine, but what the 11th house really is, it's my big time hopes. And I'm not talking about a bucket list. Boy, I better do this before I die. I'm talking about big time. In this incarnation, you need to spark your 11th house into action now. And since Uranus is in Taurus, John, all you guys are biased. Follow me now, Elke. If it were in Aries in your 11th house, you would be saying, boy, let's get that 11th house going. But now, since it's in Taurus in your 11th house, you're going to start thinking about the physical way you're going to do it. Where am I going to rent a place? Where am I going to get the money? All the talks Karen and I have been doing. Karen, I got you on now. Karen, you and I have talked so long about you got these abilities, you got these skills, you need this rental place, you need to get this license straight, you need to get these drainage ditches built, you got to get the house ready. That's what I'm saying. Those are Taurian things. So when we merge all this together, we're seeing that Elke, and you'll see, Elke, how personal a solar chart really is. I put a solar chart way before any natal chart. I do it automatically in my mind. The solar chart is really important because it breaks the sun into its native 12 pieces. So we see that now what's happening with Elke, she's going to initialize. She's been initializing her friends, her groups, her activities. You go to 90% of the astrology sites I go to on Facebook, Elke's already been there and she's a member. So she's out there. She's spread out. She's talking with the people. But now you're going to start thinking about implementing it. How do I get anchored in it? Okay? And natally, what did we say? Natally, it's back in your 4th house. So what you're thinking about is how can I get this all started from my house? How can I do all this and anchor it in my house and make it workable? Taurus. I don't have anything else to say. That's what that means. Now, Elke, what do you think?
Well, yeah. I'm trying to get rid of this big house that I have so that I can get a smaller one that's more manageable so that I can actually work out of my house so I don't have all these distractions that are, that I have to deal with all the time.
But do you feel the energies are moving in these areas?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's why I wanted to show you. The solar chart gets ignored. We get so obsessed with the natal. And Melody, your answer is whole signs puts 0 Taurus, right? Same thing. This is, yeah, solar chart, a whole sign is the same thing, right? So you got it. So what you need to be thinking of as you continue on is mixing 11th house activity with 4th house activity. All the cancers in the world are going to be experiencing an 11th house manner. But you in particular will be picking up the 4th. And you have to ask yourself, what's so interesting about how do you combine 4 and 11? Well, what's fascinating to me is this. Bedfellows. Aquarians and Cancers are not good bedfellows. They're not a good combination. But you see it all the time. Why do you see it all the time? It's because we're human beings. Because the Aquarians get attacked all the time for not being emotional enough. The Cancers get attacked all the time for being too emotional. So the Cancers love the Aquarians because the Aquarians are very steady. They're there. They're solid friends. And that's very comforting to the Cancer. And the Cancer can give much needed water to Aquarians because what's the Aquarian symbol always doing? The Aquarian symbol is not a water carrier. It's a water spiller. It's always spilling the water. So that's why. Okay, now, thank you, Alki. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Rick. Yep.
You are welcome. Let's go to Karen. Now, Karen, we know that you are a Leo. Okay, I could do this stuff mentally, and I learned how to do this because I had a radio show, and I only had 60 seconds to get ready. The person would call, I take a commercial, come back, start reading. So immediately I see you are a Leo, which means your 12th house is what? Cancer. Your 11th house, the sign before you. The 11th house is Gemini. The 10th house is where Uranus is in Taurus. So your 10th house, your solar 10th house is being lit up. Your solar business house, the 10th house, is on fire. And it's of some note, sad to say, but of some note that within a year you lost your Taurus partner, I'm sorry to say. But that is significant with this transit. Okay, Elliot. All right, let's go to Karen's chart. There's Karen with the Mars rising. So you see how Uranus is in your 10th house, but it's about to cross the cusp of your 11th house? Well, let me tell you what I think. Planets, when they get within 2 degrees, and this is about 3 degrees, and even though Uranus right now is at 0.07, this is more, a point right here is more 11th houseian than it is 10th houseian. So your 11th house is being hit, and your moon is also getting hit. Just by the fact that Uranus is starting to send its shockwave through Taurus, it's sending its vibrations to that moon. So we're seeing 10 and 11. Now let's talk about that. That's really intriguing. Here's the reason why. If you really look deeply and you read the Exquisite Zodiac about 6 times in a row, you'll start to see that the same themes that go on between signs go on between the houses. The 10th house is the Capricorn house, the business house. For most people, it's your business calling. For other people, it's your spiritual calling. And in actuality, it's all about your spiritual calling. So, being all these Virgo planets in your chart, and Leo's need to shine, here's the difference between the 10th house and the 11th house. And it's very important to understand this. The 10th house is a doctor, puts out a shingle, he starts to drum up business, he gets a secretary, he gets an office, he starts to do it pretty well, he or she. After a while, it starts to get old hat. And the doctor is impelled to join the American Medical Association, to go up on a higher octave, to work at a higher degree. Didn't mean to start making you cough. Okay, so that's what the 11th is. The second house to the first house is a higher octave. The second house is a higher octave than the first. The fifth house is a higher octave than the fourth. The eighth house is a higher octave than the seventh.
Mm-hmm.
The 11th is a higher octave than the 10th. So, all of a sudden, well, you have had 7 years of Uranus going through your 9th house. You had a lot of time to think about the philosophy of having a business, the ideas, writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's there. It's time to go. It's time to open the door and have the grand opening, right? And the unusual thing about your chart is you're opening the 11th house at the same time, which is intriguing. That means to me, you're not going to just open your healing business and be satisfied with that. You're also at the same time going to be connecting with other healers. Okay?
I've had something huge happen in that area.
Please explain.
I do a cranial sacral work, which I don't know how many of you guys know what that is or don't. I ran into a lady when I was in Missouri, and she's looked for 5 years for someone that can teach her in that arena. I have personally looked myself because I wanted the work, and I was going to pay to take a class to get the work done, and I couldn't find anybody. And what has been really impressed upon me in the last 2.5, 3 weeks is that there's no one out there teaching this work anymore.
And there's probably not many that as good as you are, because I've been there for 6 days to Karen's house, and she put my head in her hands and adjusted my cranial issues for 6 days. And let me tell you what, you didn't even know you have stuff in there that moves. And it was astounding.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you this. I got to move on. But what that means, Karen, is the time is right for this now.
In 6 weeks,
yeah,
I should have my office finished.
Excellent. And now what I'm telling you, here's what's unusual. It's very unusual to open the door to the 10th house and the 11th house at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to just put out the shingle. You're going to join the American Medical Association the first week that you're in your office.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all well-timed, and good luck to you. I'm going to move on now. Okay, coming to Marcia. Very good. This is exciting stuff. That's one of the neat things about being an astrologer is after a while, you know what the answer is going to be before they even hear the question, because it's just base knowledge. Now, Marcia, let's get you on the screen here. Okay, Marcia, bud, we see with Capricorns, if you put Capricorn in the first house, you go straight across, you get Cancer. You go back up and you get Gemini, you go back into the 5th house, you get Taurus. It's in your solar 5th house. Okay? In your solar 5th house. And in your birth chart, it's in your 5th house. Okay. Now this is intriguing. It's in both charts of yours in the 5th house. Yeah, her husband is a guitar player.
Can you hear him?
I can hear his pleasant background. Don't worry.
Yeah, he's playing in the next room. Yeah.
Marcia, bud, this is 5th house and 5th house. Now, coming to somebody who just retired from Broadway, what am I going to tell you about the 5th house? The 5th house is all about expressing yourself. I want to be on stage. I want to express myself. Well, I've been in plays with you, and you've certainly grown up with it. So we have to look at this differently. This is not about get yourself up on stage. What this is about is, I know your chart well. This is about, I am ready now to express myself as Marcia. I don't care if it meets your needs. I don't care if it falls within your parameters. I'm now ready to express myself as me, because remember what we're doing with this. We're inserting self-worth. So you're fusing the self-expression with your self-worth. Now, I've never noticed you to have any problem with self-worth, but what we're going to see here is a higher degree of it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so no matter how many plays you've done, how many curtains you brought down, no matter what, this is new to you. This is a new thing for you. In other words, the most advantageous thing you can do for your soul's growth now is to express yourself and leave a period at the end of the sentence.
Okay.
I had a therapist once years ago who said, say what you got to say, and then we always want to go, but. No, he would say what you got to say, period. That's what's going on with you. And that's a wonderful thing, because as this goes on, you will feel stronger and stronger in your ability to do so. Okay?
Thanks, Rick.
You are welcome. Marilyn. Marilyn is up next. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Let me get your chart, dear. Marilyn. Okay. Okay, here's the chart. I got to get it on your screen. Now, are you starting to get the idea now how the solar chart works and how the natal chart works? They're both real things. That's one of the problems astrologers get into. They get in like house system fights. They all work. They all work. Don't smile at me, Melody. She and I just got done arguing about house systems this past week. But they all work. You just got to know what each one's looking at. Holographic. That's exactly right. Okay, Melody, here you are. All right, from Melody. Now, Marilyn, in your chart. Okay, in Marilyn's chart, see, Marilyn, this is easy for you, because if you put Scorpio in the first house, right opposite in the seventh house is Taurus. So we know that Uranus has gone into Taurus in your solar seventh house. Opposite. All right? All Scorpios on the planet, to analyze anything, you put it in the first house. Opposite all Scorpios is Taurus. This is the house Uranus is affecting now. In your birth chart, your natal chart, it's your second house. Fascinating. So you're getting the seventh house lit up while the second house is lit up. Okay, so let's talk about that. Did you understand how I got that?
Yes.
Okay. Opposite, for all Scorpios, Uranus is going through their seventh house. The seventh house is your ability to bounce ideas off of others, to have relationships. But more importantly, the seventh house, and this is really important here, and you notice the other one's the second house. So it behooves me now to talk to you all about first and seventh and second and eighth. Here's why. The seventh house is the relationships. The eighth house is the higher dimension of relationships, marriage. The first house of Aries is about myself, who I am by being with me. The seventh house is, who do I become when I'm with you? Mr. Lennon, Miss Yoko Ono. The seventh house, that's why Libras are so fascinated with discussion, is a different part of themselves comes out when they echo off the other. So we're seeing that you got a renewed interest in relating to others now. Because in the past, when you related to others, something happened to your self-worth that's not like it is now. Now, the 8th house, I'm trying to keep this from being confusing. As Aries is to Libra, or the 1st house is to the 7th, I am, we are. The 2nd and the 8th is I have my stuff, my self-worth, 8th house. What happens to my self-worth when I'm with you? So there's no doubt at all. What this means is very clear. That people can mess around all they want to with Marilyn, but Marilyn is done. She's done playing any games with anybody where her self-worth is a target. From now on, she's ready. No matter what she does, when she bounces ideas off of you and she starts to assess how the relationship is, she's not going to lose. She's not going to lose. And through different rules, and what's the weakness of Skorpios? Usually the big weakness with Skorpios is their own self-made over-dedication. They're over-dedicated because they got this carved in stone, thou shalt not betray. So your chart is very clear. You're ready now, that's the Uranus, to look at all your relationships in the past, present, future, all of them, and you're ready now to sink yourself into them, not avoid them, get into them, because you're not going to get lost in them. Now, if that's not completely true yet, that's what started last week, and that will be on your plate for a while. Now, what do you say about this issue?
It's interesting because we had a relative to transition recently. It was my mother's sister. Her name was Doris, and she was 92. And I actually had an opportunity to ask Dee Wallace. I don't know if you're familiar with Dee Wallace, but she has a radio show on Blog Talk Radio, and it's on Sundays. And I asked her how my aunt was doing while she was channeling.
Yeah.
And the answer came back was that she is so happy to be dropped from that body, that her body had just given out, and now she's free and she's celebrating. and then there was this question of whether or not I have this uncomfortable, unsettling diagnosis where they found something on an ultrasound in my uterus. And so the doctor is wanting to go in there and do a procedure. And Dee Wallace told me that my aunt was going to be with me in the OR and not.
Yeah, what has this got to do with your self-worth?
It's about relationships and trusting that they are eternal, that they go beyond the physical, and they never die, and we never die.
Very good. So you got a great relief from all this.
Well, it was like I had felt her presence around me during the funeral. And
everyone
at the funeral was separated from the Methodists on one side of the church and the Baptists on the other. And when they asked us to sing a hymn, the Baptists wouldn't stand. They kept seated.
So how do you feel? How do you feel about you and your relationships?
Well, it's like I just want to express creativity around unconditional love.
How do you feel about being with others and how you're forming or changing your self-worth?
I'm shifting from human will to divine will.
And that tells you what?
that I'm whole and complete.
Excellent. And do you see how it's impenetrable, how you can't lose?
Well, it's actually kind of funny. You know, it's like when you have a perspective that we're all one and that we're human and we have flaws and they're going to continue to show up from time to time. Whatever triggers us is going to get us. And all we can do is have compassion for ourselves and allow these little triggers to happen, and then find the humor and the light in it.
Well, you are right on track with this, and you need to keep following what you're picking up here, because you're getting it in a very Neptune way, in a very global way. But I want you to keep remembering, because I have to move on now. I've got so many people to do. Keep remembering here that your self-worth is not going to get messed with.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because I'm speaking from the divine will now. The human will's in the back seat.
Very good. And there are a million ways to look at that, and that's probably the best way to do it. Well, congratulations and good luck. Thank you. Mark, did you want to go? You're not mute. You are muted. Mark?
Sure.
Okay, I'll get you up. I'm trying to get through everybody, so bear with me, trying to get through all the different readings here. Okay, Mark, we see in your chart, Mark, you're in Aries, right?
Correct.
Then we know that Taurus is coming to you from the second house. Okay? So we're seeing an absolute revolution going on with your self-worth right now, since Tuesday last week. Because you're in Aries, Taurus is your second house. In your birth chart, Taurus is up here in the 10th house. Okay, so we got the second house and the 10th house. Got the second house of self-worth, and we got the 10th house of career. That's very simple. That means that whatever I do for a living, whatever I've been working at, something's not gone right, or if it's gone right, I'm going to make it even better. So it means that whatever I do in my work, I'm not going to let it affect me anymore as far as my self-worth. Now, can you speak to that?
Well, kind of. Been unemployed now for a year and a half and really have no job prospects. So I'm looking at a situation where I'm not really ready to retire, but I'm being forced to retire.
Well, that sounds to me like you and I need to dig into the chart much deeper. Why don't we do that?
Sure, no problem.
On a personal level, because that digs up all kinds of things. But basically, in your chart, with the 10th house and the second, that means that the sense of self-worth is getting stronger, and you're seeing how it's directly tied to the career. This could mean that while the career is not bustling, that your self-worth is suffering from it. I don't know, and that's a common experience. So let's you and I work offline, okay?
No problem.
Thank you. Deborah, Taurus, guess what house Uranus is in when you're a Taurus? You and John? First house. Uranus has moved into your first house. Bingo! Bingo! 1 week ago, Uranus came home to roost in your first house. Let's take a look at your chart. I'm not sure you're on this list. I got to get everybody here. All right, let's see here. Stop. I'll be back in just a second. Let me get this chart right. Okay. Okay, here we go. Boy, I got a lot of buttons to hit.
Wow.
Okay, Deborah, you have Uranus in your first house. Now, you should be feeling just from Tuesday on a great awakening. One of the most common things that Uranus does when it makes us awake, it makes us fed up. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes.
It makes the thing go from here up to here. It makes us just fed up. Because we're really, what we're really saying when we're fed up is we're done holding ourselves back from being ourselves. Now, in your birth chart, it's in your 6th house. It's down here, 0 Taurus. So it's in your 6th house and your 1st house. So what does that mean? Well, that's very clear to me. The 6th house is about, I better work hard. Remember, it's a Virgo house. The number 6 is. I've got to work hard to develop the skills to pick myself up by my own bootstraps. That's Virgo. I've got to learn a new job skill set so I'll be more marketable so that I can be more unfettered, more able to be myself. Capiche?
Capiche.
Now, what do you think when you take that Italian sandwich there? Capiche? Well, how does that fit with you?
Well, you know, I'm actually retirement age, but a big opportunity is coming along at work for me to provide a lot of direction, shaping. We're going through a merger. I'm asked to be a real strong part of it. So it looks like I might have some work ahead of me for another couple of years to shape up the new organization.
Well, I have no doubt about that. I'm going to ask you all to be patient as I pause for one moment. I'll be right back. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go. When you are a Earth sign, a Taurus, a Capricorn, or Virgo, there is this unbelievable repetitious need to keep identifying with what you do, with what you've done, with where you work. That's not what I'm talking about. Uranus is the opposite. Uranus is about who you are. And when you're an Earth sign, especially Virgo and Capricorn, you identify so much with what you get done that it's a strange concept to think about who you are. That's what's going on in your chart. The 6th house, what did I say? In the 1st house. Okay. So what this is about, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all you're getting these new opportunities. What this is about is you're learning new skill sets to propel the real Deborah forth, the real me. Some people call this a bucket list, which usually happens at age 63. That's not what I'm talking about. Go see the Grand Canyon while you have a chance. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you're going to be put the two together because it always works. Learning a new skill set because it's going to help you uncover what's been buried, what has not been ready to surface, but now is. What's that mean to you?
It's hard to say. I'm so wrapped up in the day-to-day work of just living and working. But I am struggling to figure out what to do with myself after the work is done.
Okay, and I'm going to show you exactly why that is, in my opinion. It is because, I'm going to get you on the screen here. Okay, it is because, where are you on here?
The other way I would put it is just, I don't know what to go to. I don't know. I just can't get a
Here is the reason. Here's what's happening. This is the Chiron. This Chiron is in the 2nd house in Capricorn. I'm going to explain this to you. I'm going to take my time with this. All right. I have Chiron in Capricorn, as you do, as all people born around 1950, 52, 53 have. I have noticed without a doubt, Chiron is a place in your chart where you're obsessed. This is what I have noticed. The people I have talked to to experience with Chiron and Capricorn just are not set until their life is set. The wheels have to turn. The money has to come. The bills have to be paid. They're so identified with that. We saw when we did Marsha's chart a couple of weeks ago, we saw something similar to this. With Chiron in your second house, you're so concerned and habituated to being secure, being financially secure, making the wheels turn. You're good at it. You're overdoing it. You're over concerned about it because you're burying what the Deborah that wants out, to the point where you're telling me you don't know what to do after the other one's gone. This is exactly, this hits the chart exactly. What this means is, and you don't toss one aside and the other one pops up, but what this means is, it's clear to me. You need to start, in my opinion, start to have less of a grip on the daily stuff. Start to let things go. Let a bill be unpaid. Let some dish go dirty, and see that you're not, that it's not really making the sky fall for you because you're being lied to. I've got Chiron in the same sign, and I've noticed no place in the zodiac where it's stronger than Capricorn, because you get obsessed. Because what is Capricorn about? Make sure, make sure, make sure, make sure. Well, you can only lock your door so many times when you go to bed. It's locked. That's the point. And it's not a fault. It's not a fault. It's just an over concern. And what I'm saying to you is, you're now ready. You're ready to transcend this. And what happens when you have these kind of constructs is it actually benefits you, because you don't have to think about anything else. So as you start to relax it, as you start to lock the door once and go to bed, the life that's in you that wants out, and you got Pluto sitting at your midheaven, so you're a very passionate woman. Like kitty cat. It will come to the surface, okay?
Thank you.
I hope that made sense. But
It does. And it helps.
I certainly hope so. Thank you. Mr. John, let's go to another Taurus. Da-da-da. Hey, John, Uranus is in your first house.
Yes.
I got 10 minutes to do all these people. We'll just do what we can. Okay, John.
Right on.
John, you know it's in your first house. Here comes your natal chart. It's in your, right on the cusp of your 11th.
Yes.
Well, how fascinating is that? You get a doctorate degree. Uranus is on the cusp of the 11th, and it's just entered your sun sign.
Yes, it has.
So do you see what that means? Isn't that intriguing? He skipped the 10th house because he got so much paper.
Oh, I felt it in my 10th house too, but I'm also seeing it in my 11th house.
Yeah, but that really means that you're at that stage where you don't have to go to the 10th house.
Yeah.
I mean, you went to work, yes, but you don't have to go to that. It's symbolic of skipping it.
Okay.
And that's why we've talked so much about the 11th house being your hopes and wishes. Go for it. Now, if you guys listening, all you people listening, if you want to make a Taurus nervous, tell them go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. And you guys want to know the other secret? You want to know how to make a Capricorn do anything you want? Maybe I'll say that. Get flipping here. The way you make a Capricorn do anything you want, you scare them. Oh, I wouldn't touch that pedal. Don't ever touch that pedal. Oh, don't. I'll be scared to death as soon as you leave the room. John, you're fine, and this is so beautifully stated here. This is very clear. Now, all I can ask you is this. What has happened to your alertness, into your acuity, your awareness since Tuesday?
Feels like it's gotten sharper. I will say that.
What does it feel like?
Electric.
Electric what?
Just like, I guess everything just seems a little bit clearer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, more lucid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're right on your way. And one of the best ways to deal with Uranus, because you cannot suppress it.
Yeah.
That's how you kill yourself or fry your brains, is start using it.
Mm.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move down to Suzanne, who's been patiently waiting. Suzanne, you are a Sag. Why is this doing this to me? I'm trying to unmute you. There we go. Okay, Sag, right across the zodiac from Sag is Gemini.
Yes.
So you have Gemini in your 7th, which puts Taurus in your 6th. So Uranus is busy in your solar 6th house, awakening new skills. You're already so highly skilled, but you're going to find, like with your artistic skills, it's just going to start coming to you out of the blue, like floating carpets and lightning bolts. That's how Uranus works.
That sounds good.
And you're already drawing spirit people, so that's kind of cool. Let's go to Susan's chart. Susan, okay. Here is your birth chart. Okay, so we see in your chart, it's in your 2nd house. Okay, it's in your 2nd and your 6th, right? 2nd and 6th. All right. So, 2nd and 6th. There has been a disconnect between your work skills and how they make you feel worthwhile or not. How they make you feel self-secure or not. Now, see, Uranus is a planet that's so powerful. This is a planet that gives you strokes and aneurysms. Why? Because you hold it down. The stroke and the aneurysm, not from Uranus, is from holding yourself down. You don't realize the amount of pressure, Karen? The amount of pressure you're putting on yourself to keep those energies down. And the phenomenal blockages that these healers like Karen have to work on. You can hear the can up there to let the steam out, the compressed air. So what this means, and all of us, is very important not to take any of this with guilt. It's much more true to take these things as a sign that you're ready. So I don't care what anybody says to Susan about her skills and abilities. You can be proud of them, put them up front, and show them, and shine, and have your self-worth be elated.
Okay.
Now, do you have anything to say?
Well, I'm working on it. I'm going to be moving back to the Cleveland area, and I'm reactivating a lot more with mediumship, and keeping up the artwork. But, you know, for income, because you need that too in this world, I'm still subbing.
You guys may not know this, but I've known Susan for quite a while, and she is partnered in the Pittsburgh area with a very fine medium, and they're both known as two mediums at large.
Right. And that's because I originally started as the medium at large. So when I started my show, and she went with me, that was what
Yeah, and I was a guest on your show. I remember that. That's cool.
we
Okay.
are launching a show in June as well.
Wonderful. Well, this is really cool. And what this means is this. You're going to start to notice, because these things don't happen overnight, you're going to start to notice that heretofore, before now, when you announced what you did, there was a little bit of tentativeness.
Yeah.
People ask me what I do. I say, I'm an astrologer. Then they go, oh, I like telescopes. And I say, I'm not an astronomer. I'm an astrologer. Then they go, wow, read my chart. Good luck to you. You got the idea. Now, all these things with all you folks, let this simmer for a couple weeks, and I'll hear from you during the next few weeks as Uranus isn't going away. Okay? Let's get to, thank you, Susan. Let's get to our Libra, Barbara. Okay, Libra, Barbara, put Libra in the first house. You go straight across, you get Aries. go up into the 8th house, you got Taurus. So Uranus has gone into Taurus in your 8th house. All Libra people, all in the world, all the Libras, are got Uranus going through their 8th house. That's the house of shared resources, the me and you stuff. Okay? That's the higher octave of Libra. Karen, I don't know what you're doing. Karen S., your room is just lighting up. There's all kind of lights just flashing. You must have a lot of spirits in your room. Really?
I have a line going across my...
You do or I do?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. You got something going on.
It's Uranus. What can I say?
Well, you're just heavy duty. I'll be with you just next. So Barbara, back in your chart. Barbara. Okay, Barbara. Okay. All right. There we go. There's Barbara's chart. Okay. So we know that Uranus is in your solar 2nd house. And in this chart, Uranus is in your 6th house. So we're getting all these people with 6th house here. So you're getting 6 and 8. Okay? All right. The 8th house is, and I'll repeat this because I think it needs to get more established in the collective mindset. The 8th house is what is my self-worth like when I'm with you? Remember, Libra is who I am when I'm with you. Scorpio, Taurus is what is my self-worth when I'm with you. And in the 6th house, the 6th house is Virgo, working, healing, making reparations to. So it's very clear what this means. You've had 7 years of Uranus in your sun sign, Libra. Uranus is not really compatible in the sign of Libra because it's rather radical, and Libra is very easy. The way they do things are very different. But nevertheless, Libra people are very strong. They're very competitive, and they're very powerful mentally. They're winners. What's happening to you is very clear because what's the number one weak spot with Libra? Similar to Scorpio. It's over-compromising. Giving in too much to have the peace. Thinking too much of the unit as opposed to me. That's done. That's what's changing now. That's what the 6th house implies. Learning new skills, learning new abilities, learning new techniques. Virgo house is very good with preventive medicine. But what this means is you've had a long history of being married. You've had a long history of being a successful Libra. But now it's time to transcend the Libra-ness and start being successful no matter what you do or who you're involved with. Does that make sense to you, Barb?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if my sound is coming through because my screen's frozen, but yeah, I'm done with all of everything else. I'm just done with it, and I'm very comfortable, and I'm very at ease, and it's almost it's relaxing.
See,
so
what
happens happens.
What I'm telling you, folks, is erase the Uranus and put a great big fat done on it. That's what Uranus is. I'm done with it.
Done.
I told you, fed up. I'm done. You wouldn't believe that people the day before Uranus hits and they're not ready. They're not quite ready. And the day it hits. It's the only planet that hits mathematically perfect. But when it hits, it's so beautiful when I heard you say that word. Done. I don't need to talk to you anymore. You got it.
I got it.
That's what it's about. Now,
Thank you.
You are welcome. And the 6th house means you're going to start constructing your life around it. You're going to start working with repairing anything in the past that got affected by being different. You got me?
Gotcha.
That's a
Thank you.
beautiful. You are welcome. That's a beautiful thing. Hello, Miss Karen S. I'm going by who's on my screen. Karen S., lovely to have you, my dear. And we know that Uranus is going through your, since you're a Scorpio, Uranus is going through your 7th house. And you know what I have found about the 7th? I really think there's too much emphasis in the 7th house about relationship. I think it really is true. But I really found recently the 7th house has a lot to do with what role do I want to play with the public? Especially if you're thinking of being a counselor. And I've watched you before. You're a very good counselor. So think of those things too. The 7th house is not just relationships. So let's take a look into Karen's chart. There we go. I got too many charts open. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you, Suzanne, for being so patient. Okay, Karen, I got you on the screen. We've got Uranus in your 12th and Uranus in your 7th. That's amazing to me. What that tells me is very simple. You and I need a past life reading, real simple. And I'm going to toot my own horn here today, because if you were with us 2 weeks ago with the marvelous Stephen Poplin, Stephen and I did a reading, and I got to read for him, and I read about his past lives, and he said I was right, because he knows what they were. I was so flattered. He says, I took him into his past life and told him what they did to him and all that, and he put his thumb up in the air, and I just said, wow, I'm so relieved. Okay, Karen, the 12th house is directly tied to your 7th house. What that means is, 12th is really hard to read for. That means that unconscious things are emerging. They're emerging, not like the 8th house emergence, but things pop up into the conscious mind out of the unconscious. That's the 12th. In relationship to how you have relationships, how you relate to others, what your rules are of being with others, what your married rules are, what your partnering rules are. All of those things now, since last Tuesday, are coming up for resolution. And you don't have to do this, that, or the other, but what you have to do is you have to respect Karen's ability to be herself. And any obstacles, such as an old-fashioned way of thinking, or old dogma, or what the current priest lives down the street, whatever it is, what has to be put forefront is Karen's evolution. And that will help you to put to bed these 12th house karmic issues. And if you want to work with me, I'll be glad to do that offline.
I would like to do that. I just want to make one other comment. It's exactly in conjunct my Saturn.
Oh my God. Well, let's look at that. If you don't know, an inconjunct has another name. It's also called a quincunx. Quincunx. Now, that's 150 degrees, or 5 signs away. And it's very powerful. You use a small orb, but it's very irritating, and it's very powerful. Let's look at that.
I've been very irritated, so that works.
Yes, well, see how you're 2950? Just a few days ago, Uranus was at 2950 of Taurus, and it was 2950 here just in the past few days. And we know the Saturn's a big deal because it's in critical Virgo, and it opposes your peaceful moon in Pisces. So, what that means with Uranus hitting your Saturn, Saturn in Virgo is very tough when it's opposite the moon. Saturn in Virgo's answer is just shut up, polish your shoes, get back on the horse. Aye, aye, sir. Well, after a while, you don't want that answer. After a while, you don't want that answer. You want to go see Sergeant Barbara, and she'll say, yeah, she's done with it. That's exactly what this means. But we need to go, I know you're a past life expert. We need you and I to dig into your past life and play this around and roll this around and see how it tastes. But that's what's going on. And what I do with the harmonics is I look for how did the past life inform the birth chart. I look for, are we getting through it now? Are we getting past it? And usually, as you know, I work with 3 charts. I use the birth chart, the past life, and the destiny, which is the 6th harmonic. What I'm saying to you is, as we put the 12th harmonic to bed, and you start to overcome karmic situations and bring resolution to them, then pops up the 6th harmonic, which is your hero's journey, which is your mission. Then and only then do you feel free to take that horse and start moving forward. Okay?
Okay, let's schedule a session at some point.
Yeah, let's do that. Would be great. Thank you very much. Okay, Suzanne?
Yeah, I'm here.
Be patient out in California. You make me, which is that Cosmo?
California, I live in Pittsburgh.
I know, but is that Cosmo?
Yes, it is. He's a Pisces.
I know, you wrote about that. I was talking to Melody and thanking her for being patient in California, but Waldo's even further away. So, you see, the farther away you are, the more you got to wait. What did you say? Good. Say that while I'm listening. Go on.
Uranus is very close.
Go on. Say it while I'm listening. I dare you. Go on.
Remember, I'm the fool.
He gave you the upside down fool card. What do you think? Wasn't he phenomenal? Huh?
Yeah, it was.
Both of my guests the last 2 weeks were just astounding. I'm telling you. Anyhow, let me get with Suzanne. Thank you for being patient. Suzanne, let's get your chart on the screen. Suzanne, that's the one. I'm getting pretty good at pushing these buttons. Okay. Suzanne, we know that, if I can find you, okay. We know that Aries is opposite you, since you're a Libra, so therefore Uranus is transiting your 8th house. 8th house. And in your chart, it's in the 9th. Well, that's interesting. 8th and 9th. Okay. Now, let's take a look at that. 8th and 9th. Remember, the 8th and 9th positions are both in the quadrant of relationships. 7 Libra, 8 Scorpio, 9 Sag. We often forget that Sagittarius is in the quadrant of relationships because we get so enamored with Libra and Scorpio, the gooey stuff in relationships, the real gooey. The 9th house, or the 9th sign, is relationships, but it's on a much broader scale. Government, philosophy, rules of man, the way we have laws for people. So it's really, how do I relate to all people? So we see in your chart, Suzanne, that that's also what's giving you the mindset of possibly relocating. And when Uranus hits anything, it doesn't bring a bus for London, and it doesn't bring a jet for Paris. It brings some kind of wacky boat to take you to South Vietnam. Uranus takes you to places like Portugal or southern Uruguay. It just takes you to places like Saskatchewan, where there's nobody living. I couldn't help it. You poor Canadians are watching those NHL playoffs and they're losing their mind. I'm rooting for them. So you see what's happening, Suzanne. You, in my opinion, you're done with the 7th. You understand the 7th. The 8th now is, I need to start adjusting what I allow to happen to my self-worth with all the rules that I have or don't have about my relationships, and I need to make them more in line with 9th house, with my overall philosophy. As a matter of fact, you can now start approaching your 8th from your 9th. Instead of approaching your 8th through the 7th, you can now start approaching your 8th house, which is that we're together forever, Neil Young. Or you can start approaching it through the 9th house of my philosophy first. Then how do I see relationships? Because Libras are stamped with this charge, I got to have a relationship. Well, that can really cause a lot of problems because maybe you don't want one. So for the first time with Uranus there, it can really start allowing you inwardly to put your philosophical beliefs first. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, it's now the 9th house, is that higher education?
It's higher ed, it's philosophy.
Yeah, because when I retire, I plan on getting my PhD. And it's maybe metaphysical philosophy or something, continue my counseling. I have a master's in art therapy. So, you know, I haven't figured out the details, but I know the generalities of it, of my next 5 years and the plan. And I know that I'm very fluid with that plan. But yeah, travel too. I mean, Mary Radwell got back to me and I'm having a session with her. She's a world-renowned counselor and regressionist with people who are considered experiencers, people who have experienced ET phenomenon or UFO phenomenon. And so, you know, I can't believe she got back to me and she wants to work with me. So I don't know.
Well, what I'm asking you is,
you know, I don't know.
Those things are fine, but how are those things affecting the way you get your self-worth when you merge with another person, the way you have been doing it? That's going to change.
Yeah, it has changed, Drake. I'm more fluid now.
Yeah. In other words,
I'm more cosmic. I'm more fluid. I don't take it so personally.
Yeah, in other words, may I say you you're making your victory primary.
Well, I can't say I'm making my victory primary because I can never separate myself from Source, and Source is everything, everybody.
So what I'm asking you is your primary versus the victory of the dyad, the victory of the twosome. That's what I'm saying. In other words, Libras usually allow the twosome to be more important than the individual. And I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, you know, I understand what you're saying. I just don't think that's been a primary force in my life.
Good.
But, you know, I'm understanding what you're saying. I'm feeling what you're saying. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, very good. And good luck.
Thank
and
you.
Let us know what country you end up in. Okay, let's go to Melody, who's been waiting patiently. And we're going to do the Americans first. Oh, I like to make fun with Waldo. He's a fun Sagittarian. Melody, let's get you on the screen. Melody. Okay, Melody, tell me what solar house.
I'm the first. What do you mean?
What is the solar house? You're a Cancer. What solar house?
The 11th.
That's right. I'm trying to get you on my narrowed screen. There you are. Okay, the 11th house is correct. Cancer in the 1st, Gemini in the 12th, Taurus in the 11th.
But it's currently in my 10th.
In the natal, it's in your 10th. It's right here. Not far from the midheaven.
Right.
Right
Well,
here? Okay, 10th and 11th. So you're having what John's having. Oh, I have whatever she's having. That's a famous line. That's a great line.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you try that on for size? By the way, everybody, I want you to know that I've been doing a lot of training with Melody for quite a few years now. She's coming along very, very well. What do you think? Mix the 10th and 11th together.
I'm not at home anymore. I'm at home at work. It's weird.
Well, when people have the taffy pull between 4 and 10, that can be very difficult because you're trying to keep home, emotions, self, happy, while out there is happy also.
Yeah.
So with 10 and 11,
I'm searching for a community. Yeah.
well, this is not a simple one. And this means that you're really thinking about what is your life direction. And that's strange thoughts for cancers, because Cancer is always us family. What is us family thinking?
Yeah.
This is not about us family. This is about, and we know you have a strong Uranus.
Yes.
What is Melody's Uranus doing? And more importantly, it's not saying, what do you want to do with the family? It's comparing you to the 11th house, 10 and 11. So what that's saying is, I want to find my direction, and I want to know what's down the road in an Aquarian way. What can I do for the world? What bigger group can I join through this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Well, we have a reading scheduled too. That's 3 of you I got.
Yoo-hoo.
That's good. Any questions about this? You have any questions about this? What this means is you're ready to go for your calling. Don't get confused about the 10th house being the job.
Right. Yeah.
That's bad astrology. The 10th house is who is calling you and what are they saying?
Yeah.
And they're intriguing because they got this particular bauble just there for you, crafted just for you, and you know it. Right?
Eyes wide open.
And the more you've repressed yourself, the less designed that bauble is for you. But you're not. You've not been repressing yourself. You've been doing the opposite. You've been coming out. So these are very good signs, and you just have to trust. And that's not easy. Thank you very much. And we will talk soon. And I want to put great thanks with Waldo for being so patient down in the Yucatan. What's happening, Waldo?
I'm very patient.
Sagittarius. What solar house is it in for Sagittarius?
You already mentioned 6 and 2. Please, 6 and 8. That's supposed to be working.
Let's see. He's pretty fast. Waldo.
I really want to be working the Fool. That's what I want to be working.
What the Fool is, like freelancing?
Just picking all my stuff and go.
That's the problem with the Fool. You want to jump up?
I have done that many times.
You want to jump off the cliff? Okay, you were right. 6th house and 7. 6 and 7. All right, what's that mean to you?
What does it mean?
6 and 7. It's not 8, it's 6 and 7.
Well, 6 has always been, for me, kind of a little confused because I had never been able to set myself with a real profession. I've always been more like dividing myself between 3 or 4 different things all the time.
Look what's on the cusp.
So I already fine with that. I'm always looking for what can I do to better myself, like studying and stuff like that. But for right now, I feel like I'm for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been here trying to figure out what is my next move in the job department, the skill department.
Okay, what this tells me very clearly is this. The 7th house being the counselor house or the interplay house, that you interplay with other people. What do you want to do with other people?
Well, I always end up between my real job, which is in the property business, or working with architects and with design, with remodel, with sell, with buy. So that skills has always been with me. Now I have them my other side, which is the counseling, the holistic side. I studied massage, cranial sacral, everything that you can think about, but I still do both things.
Okay, but remember, it's very typical for Sagittarius to want to do everything at once because they can't stand limitation or definition.
Right, but I make it part of my life, like that.
You got Pisces on the cusp of your sixth, okay? Now, what I asked you was, what do you want to do with people? This is a new world for you now for the last 6 days, 8 days.
What I want to do?
What do you want to do with people? What role do you want to play?
I want to take it to my plutonian work.
Your plutonian work?
Yes, because
hold on now. Hold your horses now. Do you want to continue to work with renting and properties?
Well, let me tell you, I tried to get away with it, and they come back to me. I don't know why.
See how he's avoiding my question? All right.
No. But I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Work with properties and people.
Yes, with both, because I think both are related. Because people are related to their home so much and to the personal life. Because everything is integrated,
So you're fine working with people and their property at the same time that you're learning a new skill set. Does that make sense?
Yes, because but what I'm saying is why in the sixth house, that's what I was telling you, I don't find like it has to do with just one skill job.
Because Pisces is on the cusp.
Okay.
What does that mean when Pisces is ruler of something? It means that God says to you, I'm not going to give you a specific answer because God knows anywhere he sends you, you're going to do the right thing because you got the right kind of heart. But what rules all this stuff? What rules all this is Jupiter, your ruling planet. Jupiter wants to major in everything. It wants to be married to 5 people at once. It wants to date 7 people at once. It wants 19 types of jobs. It doesn't want a restriction. What I'm saying to you is what's happening now that's different is your 6th house needs to get in sync with your 7th house. That's what's new. That's what's new now.
Good.
So make sure you're not saying yes to something just because it's comfortable or the world comes to you. Make sure it's really aligned with what you want to do.
Good.
Okay, thank you. I got one question, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Marilyn, well, there you are. Go ahead, Marilyn.
I think that John and Waldo have such beautiful voices that they need to get their own radio show. Waldo, do you sing? Are you musical?
I like to play percussion.
Excellent.
Bye.
You have a very vibratory sound to your voice that I think